going at 6:01. First on the agenda, are there any changes or additions there?
Yes, please. If we could add a right-of-way permit request from Steve King.
Okay.
And discussion relative to Copley Terrace Drive.
Okay. All right. Next is approve the minutes. The minutes of August 16th, 2021.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Judy? Can't hear. Okay. Okay. Any opposed? Minutes are passed. In the minutes of September 2nd, 2021, on page 8. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, so moved.
Motion by Gary. Do I have a second?
I wasn't there, but I'll second.
Okay, you can second it, Brian. All right, is there any further discussion about these minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Judy? Okay, aye is thumbs up. All right, minutes are passed. It's going to be strange. Next, community concerns. We have community concerns tonight? Hearing none. We'll move to new business. First, we'll do that late addition, the right-of-way permit for Scott King. Do you know about that?
Yeah, this King was at 9817 Falls Road. I've been trying to come up with the name of the former owner. As we would historically reference houses, but he has a house that's between Stagecoach and Bridge Street intersection, the big house.
Oh, you speak Gordon Lewis.
Gordon Lewis, yeah. Former residents, yeah. And they have had several instances they've owned the property with their power going out to the trees falling. So they're taking their power underground. Okay. And they need to cross Somerset Road to do that. They're proposing to do that at 5-foot depth, and the work to be performed on September 24th. To the 4-hour project. He has work commenced on 2020, but I'm pretty sure it's that hours.
Okay, do I hear a motion regarding this?
Yeah, so moved.
In a second?
Second.
Second by Brian. Any further discussion? I guess I'd ask, did they know the procedure and putting the road back correctly?
Yeah, so Kevin met with him at the site already. Kevin came out and was out there with his contractor. So
okay.
They discussed what needs to be done, how it's to be done, and Kevin will inspect the property. So we don't have to inspect anything, but we need to go into that.
Right. Okay, I was thinking about the compaction and everything, you know.
They need to encase that concrete. Is that primary or secondary?
It would be a secondary.
All right, is there any further discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Thanks, Judy. Next, you want to discuss the Copley Terrace Drive thing now?
Yeah. So if you look at the overview map that I gave you, this is a little bit of cart before horse conversation. So I've been talking to Mark Sutton, who is the grounds manager for Copley Hospital. The Copley Terrace Drive is the one that they paved this summer. We paved it for the sidewalk and for the street. Their intentions are to eventually have the town, what is this to be taken over as town maintenance. And I discussed the requirements of the town road policy of the select board, and he understands there's a 1,000 feet distance. So when we did the mapping, the zoning office using the computer, we came up with about 850 feet. And you can see the triangle of land down there near their parking.
Right.
And if you take that and extend it down to the end of that grassy piece, that's 1,000 feet.
Where the parking is.
Yes. And that would be, if in fact we were to plow it, if you were to take it over and plow it, that would be the snow storage area they would push it into. So the question I have for you, they have not named this road. It's the cart before the horse. You have to name the road before you can ask to have it taken over. If they rename the road, if the board decides not to take it over, then they change everybody's address down there. And cause a lot of disruption as a lot of people live down that road.
And that,
Their addresses are going to change based on the road naming convention. I'm not asking the board to sit here tonight and say, yes, we're going to take that road. I am asking for some direction on what that's what would you be in agreement that this is 1,000 feet of roadway that would fit with the select board's policy on taking over a highway? Kevin's looked at the road. I don't think there's going to be any issues. Culverts are in place, with the face of the road, everything was built correctly. This is more about whether or not it fits the criteria to even be entered or looked at as a road.
But what are the addresses down there now?
It's all Washington highway.
Oh, it is.
My dad lives at the manor. There's 577 Washington Highway. The terrace, I'm not sure what it is. Oh, it's
579, which can get confusing for rescue and police and fire too. Yeah. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, I mean, if we go by the letter of what we agreed for policy, obviously, once we go past that, why, we're no longer, it's not a road, it's parking. So I guess we have to have clarification as to, if we accept it at that footage, then it's a precedent that we might have to carry in the future. Again, that's why
The argument is more about where does the road end, where does the driveway start?
Right.
So the Y intersection right there, we measured that to start with. The road definitely goes to that point. The turn to the left is definitely a driveway heading to the parking lot. But if you continue in a straight line, you pick up 1,000 feet by getting into and right behind where the cars are parked in that area there.
Right.
So the question is would you entertain that criteria being met at the 1,000 foot mark, going down to that area, knowing that this road, and this would be considered roadway, not driveway?
I guess I would. I don't know what the rest of.
So that's assuming that the cars wouldn't be in the way for your snowplow.
Correct.
And if they are,
So they're gonna be just plowing down straight, pushing the snow off and going back out.
Correct.
And I'm gonna do.
No. No. It does include the sidewalk that ends right at the end of Copley Manor.
Right.
So that means we have a south sidewalk too. And we don't now.
We will be, the sidewalk right now, they put in a new section of sidewalk right from the hospital. I don't know where our sidewalk machine stops currently. We haven't been clearing that sidewalk, so. We are moving up to that. We got with them to there, obviously.
What do you think about that, Kevin, the sidewalk?
Well, I mean, I love the sidewalks, brand new asphalt.
Right.
It's in very good shape, so there's nothing that's going to bother it for quite a few years to come.
And that's wide enough, that's a 5 feet wide.
Wide, yep. The only concern I have is like, following down in the parking lot, is that now makes us responsible for moving snow out. You can't just push it out onto the lawn.
Right.
So I have
To the right there, right?
more collection, correct?
Yeah.
Be more time and be.
Certainly need to be, again, the payment easements, which I don't think they're not going to issue giving us easements for snow storage and whatnot right away down through there on those properties, so.
Whichever. Go ahead, Bill.
So, as you can imagine, we're there fairly regularly, with the ambulance. Where that curve to the left is, so it would be coming back to the west, that is now part of driveway there. That's, the place where we have to leave the animals to go into the building. We are frequently competing when we pull up there with whatever pharmacy is delivering medications to that building and RCT. They all use that exact spot. So while it's up against the curb, it's not really a parking area, because that's the only access to get into the front of that building. So that, I just bring that up because that would be an issue, because it seems like the front of that building has always got some sort of traffic stacked in front of it. I'm just wondering if there's a way that they would, that Mark would make a designated area off to the right of that, to accommodate those vehicles, so Kevin's guys don't have to deal with that in the winter.
Well, when I talked to Mark, I told him that if we would entertain taking it over, our snowplow would push directly into where those cars you see are parked. That would be our snow storage area. And we can't just make a pile and haul it out every storm, unless we want to push beyond the end. And he said that they would create a parking area there, which is the cars would be there. This is a big map photo, so they've got a lot of staff vehicles there. They have other parking off the left that they can move your cars off to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been being done for years and years by Gravels and Audis. So there's some tribal knowledge of how to do it anyway. It's not a big mystery. It's not a first time deal. So, what do you guys think about it?
Again, you're not approving.
Right. Just,
this is something I'm looking for direction.
Yeah.
As to whether or not you would accept it as meeting the 1,000 foot criteria.
I guess my concerns are, around our budget to maintain roads and sidewalks in general, and I worry that, taking over more responsibility, may not be the most responsible thing. I wonder, I mean, that's where my concern comes in. And then my other question would be, if we set this precedent, is there, would there be any pitfalls in the, years ahead where we would be entertaining other requests that almost fell short?
It is a great thought process. I appreciate you going with that. That's why I'm not asking to accept any precedent. I'm seeking your guidance as to whether or not we accept 1,000 feet as to where it ends
Right.
here.
Yeah,
Because that is part of your criteria.
right.
If I was asking you to approve it at 850 feet, that would be a change in your process. That would be a change in your rules for taking over the highway. So that's why I come to you. I talked about the 850 feet mark, and he said, well, is there any way you can do 1,000 feet? And I said, well, the 1,000 foot mark puts me at the end of the spec segment where you have these cars. But I have to get more direction on it, because I'm not able to sit there and say that that's all roadway out of there, because we're not only taking over the snowplow, and we're taking over the maintenance of the roadway. So if that last 150 feet is not something the board is comfortable taking on, then this road does not meet the criteria. I'm asking you to take it on. I don't want that a shorter criteria.
right. Hey, Kevin, let me ask you this: is there time on that route to do this? The guy that does the route.
I have to really check into that. I would say that right now, it really depends on how much snow and how bad the storm is. Obviously, the more snow we're getting, the longer the routes take. Broadly, the city of Kansas, I need to maintain between a 3.5 and 4.5 mile window on all my routes. Right now, I'm pretty sure that route right around the 3 3/4 to 4 hours. About an average storm.
Right. Depending on the snowfall.
And you have had another 10 to 15 months.
Yeah.
So time we're done doing everything down the law.
Right.
Yeah, because it could approach 850 feet anyway, because you'd still have to go to the 1,000 foot mark in order to get rid of your snow.
Right.
Well, push it onto the corner of that. I hear you.
Yeah.
Right.
You're wouldn't have any place to turn around there or anything, so.
All right.
I guess I would like to see a plan for what they're gonna do with the parking during the winter.
All he said is they were gonna, they would have that as a winter parking area, so that their vehicles wouldn't park there, but park over. So he would leave that open for snowfall, for the clearing of snow.
I know we're not making the decision tonight, but I think we gotta have sidewalks so they can, I mean, this picture tells us what they're gonna do. So we do.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah, this is carpet full of horse. We can't even do a sidewalk with snow.
Right.
But you can't do the road name unless you want to have everybody change their address. It's kind of a unique situation because of the volume of people who live at Terrace, Mayor. The businesses is not so big a deal. There's individuals that all live there and change all their addresses to match the road name. So rather than put all those people through that, let me get some directions and guidance from the board. If they are willing to accept that 1,000-foot measure, where it is, and then we'll go from there. And then he would be willing to do the road naming. Once the road naming is done, then there's a process for the town to go over. We have to have a site plan. And time has to pass. There's a period of time in there. So it wouldn't be this winter that they could take it over anyway. I've already told Mark, even if we get the 1,000 feet accepted, it's not going to happen this winter. There's just too many other time pieces involved to go on the roads.
and I will say I have concerns. One of my big concerns, budgetary, I think we're getting too many sidewalks. I mean, when we have roads with 2 sidewalks going up them, so every street we got double the mileage. And it's like I said, he says it's close to not. I don't want to see us get another $180,000 machine and another person running my son. So I wouldn't mind looking at this on site.
We could do this informally if you'd like. If we each would take the time in the next 2 weeks, we can revisit this conversation at the next board meeting. If you all just take the time to just drive down through and take a look at the area. If we do a formalized site visit, we'll have one meeting, everybody together, and I'll take up another night. If you fit it into your schedules, it's just. And really, the only guidance I'm looking for here is if the board would accept that. No other thing on this usually.
Yeah, I'm willing to do that. I'm very familiar with the site.
Yeah, I actually went down there the other day, knowing that this was coming up, after talking with you. Went down, I mean, it's a great, I don't know who did the paving, but they did an excellent job down through there. And now, is that a 50-foot right of way down through there?
The width of the road.
No, I understand that, but we require a 50-foot right of way,
Mhm.
correct?
Yep, they would have to give us the easement on that.
And the, storm drainage, is that all approved and permitted and all that stuff? Because that's another thing that we gotta take into consideration. Pardon?
Go down and dump line to catch.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking that we might wanna make sure that the permit's in place for that, up to date.
Okay.
Cause that's all stuff that we're gonna have to absorb, and now I know there's concern about taking over more roads, but as there's more development going on in town, I'm sure at some point we're gonna get to, at some point in time, we're gonna get to a point where we're gonna have to expand services, and,
And there's a lot of that going on.
there is, and, matter of fact, kind of segues into the thing, I mean, the governor was pretty happy the other day about all the development going on in town.
Right.
You mentioned it a couple times.
Yeah. There was 50 just recently done, new housing units,
Yeah.
and there's another 54 plus that 24. There's a lot of housing going on.
Yep.
So it's a good.
I understand budget concerns and all that, but,
It brings on a larger conversation of the growth of the municipality versus the growth of the grand list.
correct.
And as the grand list grows, it's a wonderful thing. We all love it. But that means there's growth, more people, more vehicles, more traffic. You know,
A lot of costs associated with it.
There's a lot of support costs that come with that, and then you got the chat.
Yeah, it's not just the road crew, it's fire department, police department,
Rescue.
rescue, everybody involved.
Municipal
So.
staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this a lot anyway. We're almost at that point where the seams are busted now, so.
Right. That was my next question.
Yeah.
When do all the new residents coming in, bringing enough money to afford
Yeah,
the expansion?
I think Kevin's been at his max for as long as you've been in there.
Kevin got his first increase in staffing this past year for, in this current budget. And it's the first increase in staffing for the department for 20 years.
Yeah.
About 20 years, so.
And he's already exceeded it.
We've all way behind on that aspect of it, but they were to maintain, keep things moving forward. Anything that held us back has been cost prohibitive, paving is just incredibly expensive, so that's not a manpower or strength issue, that's a cost issue, so.
Right, that's my concern, yeah, the cost of paving.
Yeah. So we'll have this, we'll set this aside and have this come up after we take a look at it. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Next, number 1, discuss Park Street sidewalk.
Come up there?
Yeah, well, if you're loud, you can do it right there.
Actually, Don, sorry.
You're near a mic.
Come up, we'll just keep our social distancing, but a little closer to the microphone, if you know.
Yeah, closer microphone, that's right.
Sure.
Right near that, on that chair there.
So, we just wanted to, check in with the board, what are the next steps for figuring out how to get our sidewalk? Last time, you had some figures about costs and whatnot, and we wanted to give an update on that.
So last time we met, I told you, you came in our community concern because I did not have enough time to get all the numbers together. I told you I would give you what I had. So the numbers I gave you that time were from one contractor. We've had time now to go out and do more accurate measuring. So the sidewalk itself was actually 869 feet long, not 610 feet long. It's the longest sidewalk that we had. Then I believe at that point, we confirmed it ourselves. Figuring out the square footage because our contractors are giving us prices by the square foot. 5 feet wide, which is the ADA specification, times the 869 feet is 4,345 square feet. The best price, and again, these contractors are not putting in writing, they're giving us ballpark as the health day figure. $22 a square foot comes up to $95,390. But it is lower than the last one I gave you.
590.
What I said.
95, 590, you said 390, because they're writing it down, so.
Yeah. 95.
Now, do we know right now, is there anything available for grants out there that can help it?
Well, there are grants as far as getting the money right now. Probably not related to construction season.
That's not what I have to say.
Yeah, no, I'm saying as far as construction season goes, it couldn't be done today. And I don't know if this construction season, we were just too late in the season to be doing any concrete work. There's several, what I can see on the AMT website. Right. Your capital spend was listed there as a reference.
Yeah, there's a couple out. So I have a question. Since you brought up the budget. The town approved the budget for 2020. There was an audit done at the beginning of the and there was 61,000 and some change in the budget for the sidewalk reserve. And then after that, weeks after that, the select board decided to but they believe on, I think there's where you have storage, like the garage lease. They never, I guess my question is, why didn't you notify the voters because they're on budget? Because my understanding is you can't move money out of the reserve fund unless you.
So we're able to move money.
We did have voter money that was voted, like you said, at the town meeting. That money was spent on sidewalks, but we also had additional funds through the general budget that was put in there. That money can be moved by the select board. It is not voted specifically for the purpose.
That's not what the audit. Well, say that that the money was spent. At the end of the audit, you can look up when they did the audit. At the end of the audit, it said that there was 61,000, couple hundred, I don't know, in change in the sidewalk reserve budget.
Yes.
After the audit was done, then it was decided that the money would be taken out of reserve. My understanding is that the select board doesn't have that power.
The select board does have that power as long as there were two funds, two amounts of money in that one fund. The amount of money that was voted by the voters was less than what that $61,000 was. That money was spent on Congress Street sidewalk.
And why didn't it show where the money went when the audit was done? I'm confused.
They have it listed just under sidewalk reserve. The money that was voted for.
Was under sidewalk reserve of 61 something, and 61 was taken out. And when I read the rule book, the select board says you don't have the power to do that.
We don't have the power to move money out of an appropriation voted on by the taxpayers specifically.
And that was specifically voted by the taxpayers.
It's not at $61,000.
Not that.
No, and I've been sitting in there and hadn't been used, but it was still.
But we used it for, like Tina said, I remember we hired Jim Bradley to do part of, Congress Street, and we spent that money. So this money was on top of that, and which we did have the power to spend as we wanted to. We're very, very articulate with that. We know what the law is, and we only spend the money we can spend. When we have money that's voted on by the voters, we do not touch it. It goes for that purpose and only. And as far as 13 years I've been on, and as long as Brian's been on.
It's wrong. I'm trying to understand, because when you read the audit, it says it's reserved, and it's still there as of like November 15th, and on November whatever, it's still there.
Well, the audit,
That's no question.
so the 2020 audit would be in the 2019.
I think that this was just 2021. Yeah. This is very confusing, and I'm.
Yeah, it sounds like it's confusing.
And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so I get if you're worried that you're not going to get the full amount of money, 20 grand. And then see that there was $61,000 in reserve.
But I remember we didn't spend the money, this extra money on sidewalk, because we had something else come up that I remember the lease for the Fairfield building that we rented, and that sidewalk money actually went to that, and that's our discretion to do. That wasn't voted by the taxpayers. That was money that we had put in there. But I know it is very confusing, but we keep very close to track. Well, Tina keeps very close track of it. We all kind of know about it too, because it's in our minds all the time about the budget and what we have, what we can spend. But that doesn't mean that we can't raise money or find money in the budget to do that sidewalk. It doesn't mean that. But right. But I was, when I heard that.
I'm really trying to understand. What the laws, I have maybe a couple times law, and
Okay.
some people are interested in pursuing sidewalks. That's not true. From the beginning of it, right?
I know it's not. Believe me, I enjoy talking to them. I understand.
That's what social work.
We're restaurant operators from experience.
Or people.
So all I try to explain, so the board, my job is to bring the numbers to the board.
Right.
Their overview is, so they're trying to take the $40,000 that we budget annually in our general budget and make that go as far as we can. Currently, I use Elmore Street as an example. The last time we were here, we actually, Kevin went out and took his wheel and measured almost the entire length of the Elmore Street sidewalk. It's It's about 4,000 feet. And all of it is in need of maintenance and replacement. The curbing is almost non-existent, in some areas it's non-existent, it's just level of the roadway.
We get that, that's like,
Yeah, well, that's sidewalk, that's why it's gone. That's why it's not, it's not a terrible condition.
but yeah, I mean, there's worse problems from it, because people are still walking down our side of the street.
Driving by,
It's
driving by,
yeah.
it's still a sidewalk.
Sidewalk and
Oh, hey, oh.
me, the bottom line is that the idea is not optional. I don't know how to resolve it.
I know for myself, after we had the meeting here, I went out and drove every street in the town, and I sort of took a survey of which ones have two sidewalks and which don't, because I thought it was more the exception than the rule that all the main streets had sidewalks on both sides, but that actually wasn't true, except for, Main Street and Portland Street and part of Brooklyn. A portion of Congress Street has it on both sides. I had thought Maple does, but Maple doesn't. Maple has on one side, it changes sides, but it's only on one side. Even like Union Street doesn't have sidewalk at all on part of it. And there's another couple of side streets that don't. All the rest of those streets have only sidewalk on one side.
They don't have traffic.
Right.
Bumper to bumper from that time from the elementary school. You go out to 6 o'clock in the morning, it's solid probably until the parents stop to get that.
Right. It's full traffic.
Let alone walking the street and snow to go down, how long to get the other across the street, they.
Well, I feel for you. For the past, 3 or 4 years, I've been trying to get sidewalk to go the rest of the way around Industrial Park, because we have dozens of people walk that loop every day, dozens, with big trucks, and there's a childcare there now, and the business owners paid for half of it, as Gary knows. We put it out to the corner, but I wanted to continue it around, and because of budget constraints, 1 year we didn't do it. We still haven't done it. This is the 3rd year running now, but I feel for you. I get it. I'm inclined to think my own self that if we had a sidewalk there at one time, we should put it back. But then there's also.
That was the other thing that the Selectboard handled. When you were doing something that affected the community, just let us know. We could have, to wake up at 7:30 in the morning to hear your sidewalk being ripped out, is not a lot of fun.
This was discussed at quite a few.
It was.
Meetings.
It was.
We were getting overwhelmed with sidewalks, deterioration of them, okay? So we're looking at, you've got a brand new sidewalk on that street. Brand new.
On the other side.
It's on that street.
But I can't
You've got out on the street.
you not understand, the driveways don't line up. So what you're asking me to do is walk in the snow 2 houses down to be able to get across the street. We called, we asked, and we were always told there wasn't enough money. And so we just waited, we thought, okay, our Tim will come. And Ruth does, which is not fun, two houses down. Daughter to safely go to school. And nobody told you guys, we believed that you were going to make things right. And we were told at one point, believe it was sidewalk, and we really did.
There's a lot of people that would disagree with you, but I know there's bad sidewalks everywhere in town. I know that.
When they came to clean the
I remember it.
sidewalk, then we had to go in the grass between the sidewalk and the road, pull out all the rocks, cleaner. They couldn't help it, I mean, I don't want your equipment.
Right. We couldn't put a machine down there anymore because it was so bad.
No, we didn't want your equipment.
They stopped doing it before I.
Right. That's what I thought it was 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
So, 95,000 is the last time we were here. Going forward, but you said 40,000 is the annual sidewalk budget for the town?
there was money. And I was also told, when I talked to, the Churchill Highway handicap, and she said, there's money coming, and that infrastructure bill. There's gonna be a lot of money over there. And the sidewalks from under.
The other thing that we have seen a few times is, at town meeting, somebody stands up and asks for more money for sidewalks, and it gets voted at town meeting. Min Cody did that one year, and it's happened a few times, where, you know, that's a great thing too. You know, that's out of our hands, that's above the budget, that gets voted by.
When it comes to ADA, you have to comply, you know, there's kids at the end of the street. I don't care if they're looking for them, I am. And whether they show up or not, they still have to.
But maybe put it on the board, there is no ADA violation law.
Right.
The sidewalk cross street is ADA compliant, so there was, because that sidewalk was in total disrepair and weren't found, so it wasn't an ADA violation. The board decided to slide.
And before you remove it, you didn't.
No.
And I'm not questioning than anybody, you know, we all have our health budgets. This isn't an option. I wouldn't be here if I could come up with another option.
What does the rest of the board feel? What do you feel about it, Brian?
I already said, I think. We voted, I think she wants to go to town meeting. If the voters vote to do it, that's beyond.
Let's just start having these things, if she violated the law. I don't know how, this frustrates me.
How do we violate the law?
You didn't maintain the sidewalks for 2 years. And now that it's brought before you, that there's people on that street that come into the ADA, and if you say no, to me, all I can hear is, my board doesn't understand. There's no option for ADA compliance. To rip up a sidewalk and have it fine doesn't make it okay. I don't know, if I'm angry, please forgive me. I'm just tired of trying to explain it to you guys.
Okay, so I spent a little time speaking with, Eric over the phone to understand, like, can we think out of the box, and can we, you know, get the money for the new sidewalk? And it sounds like there may be some options, but the big concern, from my understanding, is that if we apply for the grant and don't get all of the money we need to complete the project, then we have to find a way to make up that difference. And to me, from my understanding, and my very limited experience on the board, that's the big sticking point. The other big sticking point is that, like, although I think it is very important that you have the sidewalk on your street, I absolutely understand. I live in town, I have a young kid, I totally get it. Also, there's like other projects in mind. And so.
So are they ADA compliant?
So a worry is, so there's a big picture that I'm just coming in on. It. And from what I understand is, so there's a few pieces at play. Like if we apply for the grant and we don't get all the money, then somehow we have to find the funds to complete the project. Where does that money come from? That's just a question. It's not a no, in my mind.
Okay, so.
And then the other thing is, well, there's other projects on the docket for sidewalk improvement and construction that would get pushed back even more, and that would also affect other people.
Okay, these other sidewalk things, do they have ADA issues?
They are.
Do they have ADA
Yes,
issues?
they do.
Well, then you're gonna have to find the money, so, I mean, if you.
Right, it's just not magic. And I mean, I'm with you. Like, I want this town to be bicycle, and I want it to be walkable.
Start getting phone calls from federal agencies, and it's just totally blocked by the maybe a list, because I've made a list.
It's not,
That's not a threat. I've already made a phone call. I'm telling you what they told me.
but what we can do, don't mean to interrupt you, what we can do is, we're coming into budget season right now. And as we do every year, we take a look at things and kind of like look at the crystal ball and see what we have, what we can do, and we can see if we can find the money to do it. It's not gonna happen this year anyway, so this would be construction next year.
Now, because even if you got part of it.
Right.
and put it in the sign and leave it there.
Right.
Maybe you won't have to.
Right.
You know,
Well, I can assure you, if we put money aside for that, we would not take it out and use it for anything else. But we have had to do things like, we had to repair a grader, we had to repair transmission on a grader, things like that. You know, things on snowplows can go, you know, an engine on one of the snowplow trucks can go, and, you know, and these are things that happen.
Yeah.
But we can make a plan and we can earmark it, and I'm willing to have that conversation and budget time and try to find that money for you guys. I also agree that there should be a sidewalk there. I know it's a big route,
I mean, it's,
but you have to realize,
Jessica, you don't live in that street, you don't know what it's like at 2:00 in the morning, and you get woken up by a supermarket truck that's bearing down at 50 miles an hour at 2:00 in the morning. They don't listen to any sign you put up. The only thing I can think of that you can do is slow them down, put speed bumps in, and that's a full thing to do.
but you can't do that.
I would like now that the sidewalk is removed, we seem to have gone back in the line for
This isn't fair.
some sidewalk replacement. You know, I understand Elmore Street is in bad condition and that, but now they seem to be behind other sidewalks.
And you didn't notify us that you were gonna take it up. I mean, you had to.
No.
I didn't think we had to do that.
You weren't town manager then, so.
And a
You're
minute.
off the bus. You were on the bus.
So, you have any comments, Gary?
Well, I agree. I guess we can look at it at budget season, but again, there's a lot of other, like you stated earlier, there's some streets in town that have a lot more pedestrian traffic that don't have any sidewalks.
Huh.
But they don't have the traffic.
Well,
And you're.
I'm not gonna argue that because I haven't seen a traffic count on any of,
Taking care of kids.
I haven't.
That's the bottom line. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue it, I'm just stating that, there's other streets that are in bad need of sidewalks. Industrial Park probably has 10 times more truck traffic over there than 15 does now, especially with the bypass going through there.
Industrial park.
All right, doesn't make any sense to keep talking, so just.
Judy,
We feel the same way.
Judy, would you like to speak? Or can you speak? We can't hear you.
Just something near the button.
You did.
I think she has to hang out and redial in, but.
Yeah. Judy, Sarah's just saying that you need to hang up and try to get a line back. The connection's funky sometimes. Try to do that.
Can I just ask a question of clarification? So, if we applied for a grant for this, are all grants different? Like, do some grants require that even if you don't get all the money, you have to use the money within a certain period of time? Or can you do like what Bob was saying, which is put the money aside into a fund allocated for that project and then wait until we can?
Money is allocated by the grant from the government. It's not meant to be invested or gain interest on, it's meant to be used.
Right.
So they're not looking for you to, if the grant is based on the project.
Right.
So the project gets approved at the select board level, then I have a project that I can apply for grant money against that project. Many of the grants are 80-20 split, 75-25, so they just come with different percentages depending on which one it is.
Right.
As far as what the amount is. Some of that is town dollars, the 25% town dollars, 75% grant. Or it can be in-kind services, so the cost, if we have dump trucks involved, we have manpower, labor, doing any of the prep work, anything like that, we can apply that to our 25%. It just depends on the grant itself. But the grant money can't be just received and then tucked away to a rainy day. They have timelines associated with it, so we use.
All grants are reimbursable, meaning you have to front all the money.
Right.
And then you have to give them copies of all your invoices and that, and then they'll pay you. You don't.
Not right
get
away.
any money out of it.
And oftentimes, when you apply for the grant, you have to prove, like, say, the 50/50, you have to prove that you have that 50%
In your budget to match it.
when.
Right.
So this does seem like it could be a longer term thing that we want to bring up at town meeting.
Other times that they have, maybe Comcast will tell you what percentage is they're looking at.
And is it possible ever to, just like putting all options on the table, is it possible for like, not that I'm suggesting you should have to do this, but just if this were an option, is it possible for like a community fund or like a private investor to like donate money towards that fund? Or does it all have to be, you know, public money?
It doesn't have to be like the businesses in the industrial park paid for half of that to be done, half of that loop.
Right, okay.
They got together and teamed up and paid for half of it. Go ahead, Bob.
When you, apply for federal grant for sidewalks, you have to do it to their standards.
Absolutely.
You're not gonna be doing it for $98,000.
Right.
Good.
Be triple that.
Stones, you're there, and now you're up to 200 and something.
That's,
These are specific to the concrete, correct?
What's that?
The numbers we gave were specific to the
Yeah,
concrete.
it's the concept.
right. Yeah, this money, the money that we think is grant, it's never free. I've learned over 13 years that it's like very much what Bob said. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But what we can do is take a look at our budget season and see what we can do, you know? We know, we hear the need. We hear you very loud and clear. And, yeah.
So we would, if we can, is there anything that you need, numbers or?
I think we've got everything.
I have a question. I mean, the crew does a great job. They do, and it was never my intention to. So like the my sewer line went. The town, I think it was the town, it didn't work.
It's a village water line.
They did two sections that were brand new. It was a top whole street. I know when they were doing before the street where it did the sidewalk. You weren't here. But they were doing sidewalks, and I know, like, I think I read in 2015 or 2015, yeah, $70,000 that you had to use, or like you said, you had to do that. So I'm like, going back, trying to read minutes, trying to understand what's
Common practice we've had is our village crew does the demolition of the existing sidewalk, or we leave the contractor to do the prep and the pouring.
I thought I told Luke and all them out there doing it.
They may have done, but I know they've been out doing practice this summer, where we have, sections that are key.
20 years ago, and I showed the lunch, you had money, and you were doing sidewalks. And that, you know, they were doing a great job, and with the town paid money if the street crew did.
We can let you know budget.
And that starts in October.
Before that, actually, well,
So, you know, what are our budget talks, again, on the general budget?
Let's see, we started right around in November sometime. I don't know the exact date, but.
So you're willing to apply for grants, you might get good part of it, because you have with the deadline.
So I can't do the applications for a grant until I have approval from the board on the project. There has to be a dedicated approval, this is a project we're going to do, then I can apply for the grant to put against the
So
estimated
you guys
cost.
willing to leave this window to the grant money? Without
Well,
that's what I'm asking.
like Bob alluded to, it's not gonna be $100,000 project if you apply for a grant. It'll probably be double or 2.5 times that much by the time you get done, so.
Why don't you get a price for the sidewalk built to federal standards? And see what it is before you even apply for the grant.
Right.
You might apply for $50,000 grant, and you're looking at the $300,000.
right.
Well, I think those numbers that we have are pretty close to,
It's putting it back, I'm sorry, Gary, but it's putting the sidewalk back where the original one was, which is, it's outside of our right of way, it's in the grassy area of the instructions. So it's a matter of just prepping the ground, putting the walk in. But to your point, so there's no curbing involved, it's not that close to the road.
Well, I'm pretty sure if you are getting federal rent, you have to put a curb.
But there's no road, there's one, this sidewalk is so far outside directly from the road, there wouldn't be any curb, it's simply a sidewalk.
There's curbs. Probably, there was 5 or 6 feet between.
My point is, if you're gonna apply for a grant, make sure the grant is gonna be capable of funding what you do.
Right.
We want Nancy to apply. If you get turned around, then this is all you.
We can definitely do some more research into it. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Judy's back.
Judy, can you hear me? Apparently not.
You're muted.
You know how to sign? All
I'll have to
right.
write a note, hold it up front.
Judy, I'm gonna call you. It seems like that would make more
Oh,
sense,
that's fine, copy out.
right? Judy, I'm calling you right now. Do you have a cell phone? It's just everywhere there. Things like that. Okay. Yay. Can you, do you have an opinion on this, Judy? No. Okay. Thank you. Maybe mute yourself on there and we'll just leave you on the telephone, on the cell phone. Very good. Yes. All right, we'll go next to discuss the school district merger vote. Sarah, is that you?
I think so, isn't it?
Apparently she's in the chair already.
So, you know that in April or May, that Joe voted to, emerge from the school. And we've known all along that Morristown will be required to have a vote on the same day as Elmore, has to be Australian ballot, we have to do it, all the same date, time. But we didn't know who set the meeting, if it was, the select board, if it's town vote, or if it's school vote. There was a lot of mixed communication. Elections was telling me that they weren't sure, but then they were pretty sure that it was a town vote. We were getting guidance from community members that no, it was the school vote. So, the school decided to hire an attorney to get a legal opinion in writing. And then Eric and I discussed it, and we thought that it was best for the town to also get, a legal opinion, in writing, because I was just getting these, oh, I think it's the town, but nobody would, give me anything in writing. So both the school attorney and our town attorney have both agreed that it is a town vote. It's up to you as a select board to set the date. The other thing that's very perfectly clear in statute is there's no, time limit for when the vote has to happen, because, there's not been a petition to us as a town to hold an election of any sort. So we just need to agree with Elmore on when, to have the election. Our town attorney's suggestion was, because, it's at our expense to hold this election, was to wait and have it at town meeting next year, because we will be having an election that day anyways. There would be no extra cost, and typically we have, good voter turnout, because that's a known date versus holding a special election before then. But, if you as a board and Elmore as a board decide, to hold a special meeting before then that's up to you.
But we had talked about having a ATV vote and another, asphalt vote, right, or paving. Yeah,
And then the question around, whether we would allow a dispensary, which,
right. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 issues.
So Elmore also, I should have double checked with Sharon. Elmore has petitions, that they also want to withdraw, from the school union. And we will also have to vote, once, assuming that passes, we would also have to, vote to accept or not accept. Once they have that vote, if that fails, then obviously we would have.
So Elmore, they had a petition, but did they withdraw it?
I was verbally told that by an outside
Right.
person.
I was,
Forgot to call Sharon to see if,
to verify it. When I was told by the same source that they're gonna have another petition, that withdrawing that one and gonna have another one.
right.
So, we'll wait and figure that out.
So
So,
if we decide to have a vote right now, Elmore's gonna have it the same day we do.
yeah, right.
So,
We have to
We
coordinate,
have to coordinate.
which we can. That's not like, dire hurry, but I think we could make that happen along with what we wanna do.
Sharon found out that the Elmore Selectboard meets tomorrow night. They meet every 2 weeks, but the agenda items, you have to be 2 weeks in advance to get on. So with your permission, Sarah, I can talk with Sharon tomorrow, just to pass along whatever guide you folks have. And she can go to her board and find out if they, if they want to wait till town meeting or if they're looking to do something in the end. It's really a coordinated effort between the two towns, and neither one can force the other to have a vote on a certain date, so.
Right.
It's, some of this is coming down to dollars, it's expensive to put on an election.
Yeah.
And if, are any of the matters that are before the board pressing enough that we need to have a special vote?
Right.
Or can they all wait until town meeting, and we don't incur the so much special vote?
But what about the bridge?
The bridge next, to be done at town meeting, we aren't gonna get done.
Anyway,
We're not gonna get any construction, that's, in advance, so.
okay, so everything can wait.
Don't try.
What's your opinion on that, Brian?
I wouldn't believe it. I thought we were gonna have to check with them,
To coordinate it.
and coordinate with them.
Okay.
what is the cost? Just,
I don't know.
Mary Ann said like $2,000 or something.
Yeah, I mean,
1,800 or 2,000.
I forget how much it costs to the tabulator. I forget if it's $500 or if it's
Mhm.
$1,000. There's programming costs for the tabulator. There's printing costs for the ballot. So like town meeting, I feel like it's like $700 or $800 for the ballots
Mhm.
and the tabulator. And election laws just changed. The Secretary of State's office used to provide us all of the envelopes. Now they no longer will, so we have to get all the absentee ballots for any local elections are now cost. For us, it's usually, depending on the election, a couple $100 in, staffing, like the VCA members.
I remember in the past, when Mary Ann was town clerk, I remember that she said to do an election, it's between 1,500, 2,000, something like that. That's been in the back of my head.
That's,
So it's not a ton, but it's not nothing either.
and I think to even say this out loud, but it also depends on if Morristown and Elmore decide they want to mail everybody their ballots or, have everybody come in and, just email them as requested, because that would be a lot more postage.
Right. Go ahead, Nina.
I'm not in favor of spending extra money for a vote, but I would like to see more clarity or more enforcement around the ATV, because I think that there's this swirl of, there appears to be a swirl of misinformation about whether or not it's legal, because you see people out there riding on public roads.
Yeah, I think you're right, definitely right. I think, the best route is to talk to the gentleman behind you there and report him. You know, I have, actually was gonna call the other day, because four-wheelers go by my house all the time, you know, and it's not legal. There's no place in town that is legal right now. So, and for me, I feel like, if these are any of the folks that belong to the clubs, they're shooting themselves in the foot by, you know, going against the rules now, rather than wait and do it in a respectful manner and do it by vote. But I agree with you. I see them quite often on, lots of different roads. I'd like to see it, somehow tighten up. I know Jason, you know, these guys respond to everything that they're called on, but there's a lot of them.
And by the time they get there.
They're gone. Yeah.
So, I mean, would it be appropriate for the select board to put some clarification into the news?
I don't have a problem with that, or have a problem putting it on our website too, you know. There's
But I don't know.
currently not legal anywhere. But the problem,
Or for work.
right, if you have your farming agricultural placard,
Yeah.
you know, and you're so much distance to the farm or something like that. I read about that. You know, but that's not what we're talking about.
Now, as far as clarification,
You're going from field
if
to
it
field,
passes
travel
vote,
over.
then we're gonna get an ordinance on what we want, right?
That's up to you folks, yeah.
They-
That would-
So there's no need to make an ordinance if it's not gonna pass. Once it passes, then we'd have an ordinance on who can, who can't, how old they gotta be, you know,
Right,
that stuff.
all the details.
So I don't know what you want for clarification. It'd be a lot more clarification if it passes.
Right, well, just what Bob said, since we don't know when this vote is gonna be, maybe it'll be a town meeting, that's several months away. But, just for clarification for now, it's illegal to do it.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of them.
I like that idea.
There's a lot. And the all-terrain vehicles is everything from lawnmowers to tractors, everything else down the road with no place.
Lawnmowers, you're right.
Golf cart.
Golf carts.
Yeah.
Dune buggies, yeah. Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. Do you have anything else about this? You'll check with Sharon.
That's just guidance from the board, your feeling on, Eric and I were talking to Sharon, but I need to know, do you prefer to wait till town meeting, or do you prefer to have a special election ahead of time?
I just feel that there really is a need, then we can have one. But it doesn't sound like there's really a need, a desperate need. It sounded earlier in the year that it was. But
So I'm flexible. To me, that small amount of money with the number of things we could put on it would be all right. But just soon wait till time to save money too, because I don't like spending it. But if Elmore all of a sudden said, we
We
want
need
to
to
do it, we want to work with them, that'd be all right.
see what they say. Jess, what do you think?
I don't necessarily, I'm of two minds about the urgency, because I feel like, there was a bit of urgency after the ATV, public discussion, that we didn't promise anything, but there was sort of like a feeling that we would have, vote soon. So I just, like, my interpretation of what soon meant, kind of meant within the next few months, personally.
Right.
And I also know that, if we are going to, vote, there's some issues around voting on whether or not we want to allow a dispensary in town,
Right.
in terms of, new laws coming into effect and all that. So, I mean, maybe one way to do it would be to have it on election day, so that, like, that is like a date in people's minds, and then the third, or whatever, it's the first Tuesday in,
Right.
sorry, the first Tuesday in November.
Yeah, I agree with you, what you said about, you know, I know there's a lot of folks that are waiting. I get emails all the time about the ATVs but the season would be over anyway, isn't that correct?
That's what I was gonna comment, that by the time you had a vote now,
Yeah.
takes you, what, 30, 45 days to get one put together.
Right.
And the season's over, actually, the 15th of October. But it doesn't start up again until the 15th of May. So if you had it town meeting, I mean, it's not gonna affect the ATV issue one way or the other. You're still gonna get calls.
Right.
How we feel, or when it's gonna happen, but we just physically don't have time enough to do anything to.
They would open it sooner.
Yeah, to get it open this fall, and if it goes through in the spring at, town meeting, you got time enough to get the notice out so they can use it when the season opens.
Judy,
My opinion, and I think that Elmore would probably be more affected by the cost of a meeting than we would be.
of an election.
Budget-wise.
Yeah. Judy, what's your comment? Judy?
I would agree to hold, like, so, March on town meeting day, hold the vote.
Okay. I think we all kind of feel the same way. So you want to just talk to them, if they're, opposed to that, say, when we want to have it done, then come back to us, but.
So my suggestion is there a real chance to have it sooner, especially if they get a petition and they need to work? My thought was just this idea too, there's no general election this year, it's an off year, but we always get one or two phone calls for people that show up on the office on that first Tuesday in November, because they think there's an election, so that would be my suggestion.
Sounds good.
But I think we should put it on the next, agenda meeting. Because you'll have to.
Great, thank you.
Well, I think I'm next.
I think you are. Next, delinquent taxes.
So, taxes were due May 15th. I always sent for our, delinquent tax policy. Oh, I should get you a copy, Jeff. You probably haven't, didn't think of that, I'm sorry. Our policy is that after the May 15th, we send out 3 letters, 30 days apart. That third one, we can certify saying that if you don't pay by a certain date, then it's gonna go to tax sale. So everybody has been properly warned with all of those. After those, 3 letters, then I bring the list, to the board, and
this is a list.
this is the list of where we're at right now. And then the first step in the tax sale process is the town attorney sends a demand letter. They cost the town $75 a piece to mail.
do that. What is your recommendation?
So, past practice has been that we send one to anybody over $75, but if it's under $75,
It's not worth it.
It's not been worth it.
And there's only a couple under there.
Yeah, there's only a couple.
Yeah, 3 of them. 71.55, but 3 that are under the. Well, it's 4. Yeah.
4 of them, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I think 4.
Yeah, 4.
But, overall, I'm pretty proud of our community members, and despite, the hardships that families that, had during COVID, we really, really do not have much, delinquency. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. That's a good thing.
What's roughly the total tax bill?
I don't, that's a great question. I'm not sure because we collect the school too and the village, so it's all merged into one.
I was just wondering what the percentage was.
Well,
It's gotta be
I think
really.
roughly you send the school about 7 million, don't you?
8, I send the school 8,
And then there's 6 for us. And I don't know,
the village is like 11,000.
yeah,
It's not that much, so.
Of these,
Maybe
15,
15
million.
million.
I'm wondering, this list, are any of these folks that we've sent letters to, do we communicate with them and they say, oh, geez, I'm sorry, I can't afford it, I can't pay? I'm on hardship, whatever. Does anybody say that?
Not,
Or do they not respond?
not typically to me with the first three letters. Typically, I get the phone call and the tax bill's been sent.
Demand letter.
Yeah, not even, so there's the demand letter that they have, like, I forget what it is, maybe 30 days. And then tax sale proceedings gonna start, and then once that's sworn and it's in the newspaper, that is typically when people reach
Right.
out. But we offer so many ways to pay now. You can pay online, we have people that pay weekly. I think they just get it directly withdrawn, probably out of their paycheck, and it just goes into, the bank account. So, like, $25 a week is easier than paying a couple thousand.
Right, and some of these look like they're the kind of the frequent flyers.
Okay.
I don't mean to say that, but it is like that, because I'm thinking about COVID and thinking about, hardship and hard times people are having right now. And, should we have extenuating circumstances in this case, right now? Because some people are they genuinely out of money, they can't pay them, they're having hardship. Some people are too proud to say something too. I feel like we should maybe have, circumstances that are not our policy, bang, 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 you're done.
We explain a lot about the abatement policy too, that I, myself, and my staff, we don't have the power to waive anybody's taxes, we don't have the power to waive any interest, we don't have the power to waive penalties. So we explain that there's always the abatement process, and that's one of the criteria that they can come to the Board of Abatement and share their case.
Right. Just hope that that's explained really well to them. So, I hate the idea of a hardship. It's one thing if you don't pay your bills, but if you don't pay your bills and you really want to, it's a different story, So.
So does that go into the certification letter, or the certified letter? Like, you can appeal this by the abatement?
Yeah, that goes, so all three letters, they get the abatements on one side and then the bills with policy, on all of them. So they continually get it.
So are you thinking we'd send out letters, to demand letter to all of them except those four that are, does that sound, Brian?
Yep. I'll make a motion.
Judy? Okay. Does that sound good?
So, Jim Barlow will write up a contract. Will you authorize me or Karen to sign that?
Yeah. Either one. I think it should probably be you.
Okay.
You want to have a motion?
And Jim will walk that.
I'll make a motion that we approve this, authorize you to sign.
I have a motion by Brian. Do I have a second? Second by Gary. Is there any further discussion on this?
So by this, your motion means anybody that's over $75?
Yes.
That's what you said, right, Brian?
That's what I said.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thumbs up by Judy. Any opposed? Motion's passed. Thanks, Sarah. All right, next, number 4, accept transfer of the Quimby Tinker parcel. Ron, do you know about that one?
Well, we discussed it before. I wrote a letter.
Yep.
To, property organization. When we discussed it before, the, Morristown Conservation Commission was sort of up in the air. To find a decision, the parcel's not losing money or gaining money. It's a monument for history. And that sometime in the future, maybe a possibility to be utilized for.
A park or something, yeah.
That was what was intended.
Okay.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So it's sweet.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. This has been around for a while, as you know, and I'd like to see us do something with it, but, it'd be nice for a few reasons. I also think that it would, help, the relationship between us and LCPC, you know, by accepting it. I think that,
Well, and if it's a affirmative vote tonight, I will inform Caleb that.
do we have a motion regarding this?
I move that we, that the town, accept the proposal to, sorry.
Accept the transfer of the Quimby.
Well, accept the transfer, of the Quimby property, from LCPC to the town of Morristown.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Gary. Is there any further discussion?
This is the one that they're paying taxes on, LCP is.
Yeah, it's the same one, Kentfield Brook one.
So once we review that, that's cool.
It's not a lot of taxes.
I think, when they came to the Board of Abatement, remember?
Yep.
And I think that the value is down to, I think they paid $20.
Right.
It's very,
Very low.
Very low.
Judy will-
Judy?
up there. Will our affirmative vote to accept the property mean that the Conservation Commission, take over the property? You mean like the maintenance of the property, the management?
Right, I think.
The property will transfer to the ownership of the town of Morristown.
Right.
The MCT has a running inventory of all town properties and they provide support as per their bylaws and state law as to what those properties are and management recommendations for them. But the property itself will belong to the town of Morristown.
Right. Is there any further discussion? That answer that, Judy? Okay.
just a question, where is the Quimby property?
Yes, part of the club.
Do you wanna look at
It's
the
up
map?
in Morristown Corners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Roughly 1 acre parcel of land that sits in the middle of the Kentfield Brook. Kentfield Brook runs on both sides of it.
yeah,
The property is worthless for any kind of building on, you never pass A&R. So it's just a piece of land that sits there. There's a long history of intent of the family originally to give the parcel, to
to the town.
But it was, back then, it was the LCPC, the acronym.
Right.
Years ago. They gave it to them, and then the intent was for LCPC to transfer ownership to the town of Morristown. However, it built the ground, and some 30 plus years later, it came to be that there was an unpaid tax bill. So
Right.
that's when it all came back, into people's attention.
That's right.
And I'll, Ron, if you're gonna talk to Caleb, I'll send one of those over to, the LCPC themselves, just to promote the board. Sure.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Thanks, Ron.
Maybe I should mention earlier, when the paperwork is drawn up, you'll have to appoint that agent to convey real estate.
Yes.
Because now it's per project, it's no longer, it's no longer an elected position, there should be a motion each time.
Okay, thanks for bringing that up. Okay, 5, approve errors and omissions. Tina?
Not me,
Oh,
that's Lister.
yeah, oh, sorry. I thought you might be with it.
So, I heard they talked to me some time ago about this, I don't recall the exact communication. You understand what it is?
Yeah, because the question is, so it's a Comcast bill, correct?
Yeah.
According to the district advisor, the Comcast bill is considered business personal property. And so, it needed to be reduced because, the voters voted to reduce it by 25% each year. It didn't get applied to this account when the grant was lodged, because they were thinking it was cable bill, not business personal property, but, I actually called the district advisor with Terry because I really, really questioned it, and, they said, yes. It needs to be treated the same way as the rest of the and say, yeah.
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
okay. A motion by Brian, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Gary. Is there any further discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Thanks, Judy. Yep. All right, next, approve the heating oil and propane bids.
So, we sent out, notices to, at least 4 vendors on the road. We received, bids back, 2 of them, one of them being propane. The, propane bid, from Bourne is $1.76 per gallon, Fred Energy is $1.60, 66 cents per gallon. These, you don't want to do these as separate.
So I'll
Okay.
make the motion, we approve Fred's Energy. And allow us to.
For the propane bid.
Okay, I have a motion by Brian. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Gary. Is there any further discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is passed. Okay, now the oil.
Yeah, I move that we accept the bid from Brassos to supply the town's heating fuel oil for $2.22 per gallon from October 1st, 2021 to September 30, 2022.
Okay, I have a motion by Gary. Do I have a second? Yeah.
Did you see Judy?
Second first? Yeah, go ahead, Judy. Can you read that? I can't read that.
Propane and oil bids, do they include the main?
No, that's a service contract, separate service. That's just for the fuels. Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is passed. All right. Next, signed Vermont Community Development Program Grant Agreement for the Village Center Apartments.
This is gonna be contained on, this is the VTV grant for across the street.
Yep.
It is a part of the process of receiving those funds. I don't really want to demean it, call them check the box, but it's check the box.
Right.
Approval process that has to go in front of the board to be approved.
Just sort of a housekeeping thing, really. We're part of it, right?
Different pages. Here.
Do we need a motion for it as well?
I'll make a motion that we approve it, sign it.
I have a motion by Brian. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jess. Any further discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thanks, Judy. Motion is passed. All right, next. Approve the warrants. Do I hear a motion to approve the warrants?
Second.
I have a motion by Brian and a second by Gary. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is passed and warrants are approved. Next, TA report.
You bring up the dates, the summer concert series included. Trish did a phenomenal job. I don't know how to
Yeah.
Oh. She's in the process of thanking everybody involved, and she just, I mean, again, fantastic. First year I COVID, everybody was over for that release. I went to a couple of them, very the Oxbow are now open. They're open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We have a cleaning contract in place. A reminder of Oktoberfest is around the corner, September 25th. Highway department is up quick up there, they're still hauling sand. The paving project on 15 is a whole lot of time-wise for them, but every moment they have, they got trucks hauling sand in. We got our sand supply up and going. Again, it's part of the process of not having gravel. Storm drains being elevated on the highway, that's what the cones are all out there for, they're bracing those up. And anticipation of the paving we're going to do up there. The water light has the manhole coverage risers on order that the end was done as well.
Nice.
Go there. That's all right.
Do we have a paving date yet, or anticipated?
Anticipated? No. They're hoping that it's a day here or a day there.
And meeting with the trustees is the 29th, the dinner meeting?
It is. The 29th, 5:30, up at the Country Club. I'll get with you next meeting to find out what the menu item we choose to serve. Either going to be a steak or fish option.
Nice. And we had prime rib before, that was good. That's possible. All right, any questions for Eric?
That's at 5:30.
It is. I think the process, I think we're going to sit it down with Penny Jones. I think the process will be the dinner first, and then once dessert is served, the business conversation will ensue, although the meeting will be open. We have 2 members there. The heart of the topic of the conversation will likely be the 10-year town plan. Get both boards discussing any issues that might be there that we need to work through. It's a great time to converse about.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Brad Limoges about it too. It's good. They're excited. It's good. Any questions for Eric on his field report? Thanks, Eric. Select board concerns. Gary?
What's up?
Yes?
I was sorry, I was putting in the so I wouldn't forget. I wanted to second Eric. Thank you to Tricia. It was my first year attending the Wednesday nights at the Oxbow, and it was just so great to see so many people from the town there, and families, and so many different organizations that came out to the table, and it just really gave me a good feeling about how vibrant our community is. And I think that event has really grown, and I think it's really important to have events like that and opportunities for everyone to come together. And I also really like the variety of performers, like one night it was just people from the community, like reading poetry and doing dance, and then there was like really professional bands playing some nights too. So it was just a whole gamut of performers, and I wanted to thank Tricia a couple times this summer, but I wanted to say publicly too.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. Brian?
Yes, I also thank Trish. I think she's done a great job and still is. I think next one's gonna be a good one. So my question tonight is, again, the gravel pit, heard anything?
No, not a word. We're still waiting on them to give a response to the last, our attorney sent them a response to their request for snow survey. It's so, let me get the wording right. Anyway, our attorney sent a letter indicating that the criteria for a snow survey does not fit our current situation. So that is a specific reason for being in front of the environmental board. It's a lengthy story. Went on for 10 years in court, so only recently, the last 2 years or so. But it has to do with when there's a written permit in place and coming up for renewal, or as we are with our gravel pit, is the change or any changes to in the renewal permit that are going to negatively impact the original one, or change the intent of the original. In this case, that's not what we're doing. We're changing a location, but everything else remains the same. So our attorney did not feel that, nor did our engineer feel that the stowe survey criteria means what we're doing here. We're waiting to see what they think.
Stowe Highlands, that's the one.
Stowe Highlands.
Stowe Highlands thing.
Do you have any, first people ask me, where are we getting our sand? Is it Garfield?
No, you're gonna have Silvis, Wolfett.
Wolfett, Salvas?
Yeah.
And, any idea what it's costing us?
$771 a year,
Plus truck.
plus us charging it back.
Oh,
We put up how many yards?
Right now, we're at 5,742 yards as of today.
But what do we have to put up for the winter?
We've got another 4,000-ish.
About 10,000 yards total.
It's about between 9,000 and 10,000.
So I just want to say that I'm very, very, very disappointed in the government. I don't understand how it takes that long to renew a permit. It's not like we're trying to get a permit. We had one, and we were operating, so and I don't know if there's anybody we can let fire underneath, the governor.
I think we should have cornered him when we had him here the other day. Didn't think about that.
That's an idea. I just was so disappointed.
Our engineer has been sending letters and emails. He's got one email thread. And it's a continuous flow of questions with no answers. And when the answer does come, it's less than what we're looking for.
Good way to put it. Maybe reaching out to Dave Iacovone again.
Other than that, I'm good.
Judy has.
Yeah, she was next. Go ahead, Judy.
I should be on the board of something.
Yeah, go ahead.
He said the same thing again.
Can you?
I can hear you. You're not muted. You gotta mute. If you mute your microphone on the computer, then I can hear you on the cell phone. It was echoing, so she wasn't.
It's muted on the.
No. Yeah, turn the computer
Can
down.
you just read
I can't read it, but Eric can.
She's saying, thanks Peter Dean for taking care of the audio for the AED meeting. When will the Bridge Street cut be fixed? Oh, the Lower Bridge Street, we're getting on the cutting to do the, so we'll leave those, for a while to allow traffic to continue to compact that. They did a great job as far as when you go over it, you barely feel like you have a fault there. But, that will, they'll put some pavement in that before too long, just because of the upcoming winter. And then it goes on to say, thank you to the police department for putting the electric traffic sign on Randolph Road.
Right in front of your house. I saw that.
Was it really?
I knew Judy, oh yeah, it is right now. She's happy. Thanks, Judy. And I guess I'm all set too. Actually, I was gonna say something. Trisha's really getting it today. I saw Trisha watering the plants here on Sunday. And I just couldn't believe that. It's great. She's doing a good job. I was most impressed. I also wanted to recognize the fact that we had a volunteer for our town for many, many years, passed away suddenly. And I wanted to say something about it. And it's just sad for the community when we lose somebody. And I know that she volunteered on MAC for many years, and she was one of the ones that was out watering for a long time with her and Karen Lowe. And I just felt bad about that, but
You haven't mentioned the name.
yeah, Heather Sargent. Yeah. So just sad to hear of her passing. All right. And that's it for me. We got old business. Is there any old business? Hearing none, well, other business.
Yeah, I find that, premature general public knowledge would clearly place a public body or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage. I move that we go into executive session to discuss the following. There's gonna be 3 separate motions. And we have to act on each one separately. The appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, subject to T1 VSA 313(a)(3). I have a motion to go into executive session for that one.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Judy? Any opposed? That motion is passed.
Number 2, the negotiating or securing of real estate purchase or lease options subject to T1 VSA 313(a)(2).
I have a second by Brian. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed.
Number 3, labor relations agreements with employees subject to T1 VSA 313(a)(1)(b).
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed.
And those motions included, Todd Thomas, where,
Right.
Todd Thomas, Keith Keith, Jason Lowell,
Eric Dodge.
and Eric Dodge.
Yes. Okay.